And there came a time known as the third millennium, a time when the people of the earth were ravaged by disease, pestilence, and poisons, a time when the horsemen of the apocalypse ran the multinational corporations, a time when America's citizens were waking up to a future of no money and no jobs, a time when a special man came forward, a man that your American taskmasters did not want you to see or hear, a man whom they took prisoner and hid away, a man whose name is Yahweh ben Yahweh. For telling people the truth, Yahweh ben Yahweh was taken prisoner by the minions of darkness. For giving people hope, Yahweh ben Yahweh was led away to Golgotha. This is the continuing story of the past and of the future, about good and about evil, about your life and what it will become. A story that tells why the so-called black man of America had to suffer for over 400 years. A story of what will happen to the so-called black man if he returns to the laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments of God, Yahweh. Olam shall Yahweh. The universe of Yahweh. Brought to you by the nation of Yahweh, working for you and your future.
Good or evil, life or death. This is your choice in this, the year 6003, the year of judgment. Shalom and welcome to the universe of Yahweh. My name is Josiah Israel and I am your host. For over 7 years now, we have been discussing some of the things the Bible said would occur in the day of judgment. We warned you that the weather was going to change, and that the powerful forces of nature were going to bring terrible destruction upon America and the world, and that it was going to get worse and worse and worse, and it has. We alerted you that violence in the public schools was going to increase, and it has. We showed you in the scriptures that forewarned of wickedness in high places, and we are witnessing today gross misconduct and serious crimes being committed by some of our highest elected officials. What lies ahead for America and the world is nothing less than the proliferation of deadly diseases and plagues as foretold in the Bible. But there is hope. The Bible tells us that at the end, the Messiah would be revealed. And at that time, he would save the righteous from this impending destruction. That one, the Messiah, is Yahweh ben Yahweh. So we invite you to join us in the universe of Yahweh, featuring the commandments of Yahweh and the Messiah revealed. First, the commandments of Yahweh.
Shalom. My name is Ben Kail Bethel Yisrael. We shall continue our discussion of the commandments of Yahweh. Last week, we gave you the facts to show that Yahweh ben Yahweh is the faithful witness and the first begotten of the dead. And before all others, he caused himself to come from a mentally and spiritually dead state of mind to a divine state of mind. He is come proclaiming to the world that he is the Son of God, Yahweh, and that he is self-born, self-raised, self-appointed, self-proclaimed, self-governing, and self-sufficient. For this reason, he is being crucified by the rulers of today, as prophesied in John chapter 19, verses 6 and 7, which reads in part, "Crucify him, crucify him. We have a law, and by our law he ought to die, because he made himself the Son of God. The video clip you are about to see is a synoptic overview of our television series of the crucifixion of the Messiah. Let's watch it. The crucifixion of the Messiah, as written in the New Testament, did not happen 2,000 years ago. The crucifixion of the Messiah is a prophecy that is being fulfilled this day. For unto us this day is born the Messiah, Yahweh ben Yahweh, to a virgin-minded people, the so-called black man of America, who have been cut off from the knowledge of our true history and God, Yahweh. The mission of the Messiah, Yahweh ben Yahweh, began in Florida, a state located on the southeast of the United States of America. Leading biblical scholars knew that it was time for the Messiah to be born among his people. The wise men had seen on television and read in the newspapers about this star, Yahweh ben Yahweh, in the places wherein they dwelt. So at the appointed time, they traveled to the city of Miami to inquire about the King of the Hebrews. During their visit, they witnessed the mighty teachings of Yahweh ben Yahweh among his people. For he was teaching us our true history, which is the world's best kept secret. And even more, he was teaching us the true name of our God, Yahweh, and our relationship to him. The wise men also saw the prodigious skill and exceptional talent of the Messiah in amassing a $250 million empire. They also learned that he had done this just within 7 years without government assistance. Without doubt, they were greatly astonished at the unparalleled work of Yahweh ben Yahweh. As a result, they arrived at the conclusion that Yahweh ben Yahweh was indeed the long-awaited Messiah, Shiloh, the ruler of Judah. Now, when the government heard about the wise men's conclusion, they sent for their most learned men and asked them many questions about the prophecies of the Messiah and the works that he would do. After hearing their analysis and reports, the government was greatly troubled, for they feared that Yahweh ben Yahweh might someday take their kingdom from them. Therefore, the government, along with the ecclesiastical court and the media, consulted together and sought how they might take Yahweh ben Yahweh by subtlety and destroy him. They were confederate in their decision to crucify him. Subsequent to their decision, they began immediately to implement their plan. The FBI secretly flagged Yahweh ben Yahweh's mailbox, bugged all his phones, and followed him wherever he went. To whip him publicly, the government used their most powerful weapon, the media, television, radio, newspapers, and magazines. To scourge him, they painted him as a murderer, a liar, a thief, and a robber. To plait a crown of thorns upon his head, they called him a child molester, a womanizer, and a brainwasher. To mock him, they gave the people a false image of what the Messiah would look like when he appeared. To spit upon him, they accused him of teaching hate. To strip him of his garments, they dissembled his $250 million empire. As a result, they crucified him in the eyes of the public. All these things were done so that the people to whom he had come, the lost sheep of the house of Israel, the so-called black man of America, would not believe that he, Yahweh ben Yahweh is the Messiah that was prophesied to come. After the media had destroyed Yahweh ben Yahweh in the minds of the people, the government knew it would be easy for them to bring his mission to a halt and to stop him dead in his tracks. So, using Judas and other false witnesses, the government secretly planned and plotted the arrest of Yahweh ben Yahweh. However, the government made a political decision not to come against Yahweh ben Yahweh and the nation of Yahweh in the same manner in which they had attacked other black organizations and leaders, like the Black Panther Party, the MOVE Group of Philadelphia, Martin Luther King Jr., Medgar Evers, and others. Instead, they decided that there would be no bloodshed, but they would use great force. It was at this point that their soldiers, the FBI, along with DEA agents, SWAT team members, and local law enforcement officers were all ordered to prepare to carry out their plans. In order to determine how to best prosecute Yahweh ben Yahweh, the government held many meetings between the United States Attorney's Office and the state of Florida's Attorney's Office. Eventually, a tactical decision was made that the case of Yahweh ben Yahweh was more easily prosecutable under the federal RICO umbrella. They agreed that the Florida State's Attorney's Office would cede its jurisdiction to the United States Attorney's Office, who formally indicted Yahweh ben Yahweh and charged him with 3 counts of RICO, which included acts of murder, arson, and extortion. After all of these logistical matters had been determined, on November 7th, 1990, at the 3 a.m. hour, in a 7-state raid, more than 300 FBI agents, drug enforcement agents, SWAT team members, and local law enforcement officers arrested Yahweh ben Yahweh and 16 of his followers. As prophesied in Matthew chapter 26, verse 47, they came with enough weapons to kill thousands, and the media was on the scene to capture this prophetic event, which was broadcast around the world. Yahweh ben Yahweh was arrested and then led away to the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Miami, Florida, to await his trial. After sitting in prison for 2 years without bail, on January 2nd, 1992, the trial of the United States of America versus Yahweh ben Yahweh began before the United States District Court Judge Norman C. Rucker in a little town called Fort Lauderdale, Florida. During this 5-month-long trial, the jury heard testimony from many false witnesses. On many occasions during the trial, Judge Rucker even asked the government, "Why is this case being brought before me?" Subsequent to hearing 5 months of grueling testimonies and viewing hundreds of horrifying exhibits, the case finally ended and was turned over to the jury. Following 5.5 days of jury deliberations, the jury expressed that they were hopelessly deadlocked and were also confused concerning jury instructions. But despite their confusion, the judge ordered the jury to reach a verdict. As a result, on May 27, 1992, the jury convicted Yahweh ben Yahweh of being a malefactor. In legal terms, conspiracy to commit RICO. Immediately after the verdicts were read, the state of Florida charged Yahweh ben Yahweh with 2 first-degree capital murders. As prophesied, Yahweh ben Yahweh was sent from Judge Rucker's jurisdiction to Judge Snyder's jurisdiction, scripturally, just as Jesus was sent from Pilate's jurisdiction to Herod's jurisdiction. While facing the possibility of death in the electric chair, not once, but twice, Yahweh ben Yahweh was sentenced to 18 years in a federal prison. And although he was declared an indigent, he was also fined $20,000. The first-degree murder trial of the state of Florida versus Yahweh ben Yahweh began in Miami, Florida, before Judge Arthur L. Snyder. Sitting through many days of another grueling trial and his life at stake, Yahweh ben Yahweh listened again to the testimony of many false witnesses and said not a mumbling word. His defense utterly destroyed the prosecution's case and handed the state of Florida a devastating defeat. So much so that it took the jury only 2 hours, which included lunch, to find Yahweh ben Yahweh not guilty of first-degree murder. After receiving such an emphatic jury verdict, the very next day, the second first-degree murder charge was dismissed, thus arraying Yahweh ben Yahweh with a gorgeous victory, which euphemistically means a gorgeous robe as prophesied. Although Yahweh ben Yahweh received 2 gorgeous victories, a not guilty verdict, and a dismissal in state court, he, bearing his cross, an 18-year prison sentence, went forth into a place called the Place of a Skull, which is today called Lewisburg Penitentiary. This penitentiary is a maximum security federal prison located on a hill far away, over 1,500 miles from Miami, his birthplace. It is described as one of the worst prisons in America and a place where some of the most vicious, boneheaded, and notorious criminals are housed, thus fulfilling yet another prophecy as written in Isaiah chapter 53, verse 12, and he was numbered with the transgressors. Before the arrest of Yahweh ben Yahweh, he was revealing to his people our true heritage. As his people, we had been cut off from being a nation and from the remembrance of our true name, Israel. The government and the rulers could not afford to allow the so-called black man of America to become conscious of his true identity, the world's best-kept secret, which has been kept hidden by the secret societies. Yahweh ben Yahweh was bringing to the light that our God, Yahweh, promised our forefather Abraham that we, as his seed, would sojourn in a strange land, America, that is not ours, and shall serve them, America, as slaves, and they would afflict us 400 years. Yahweh ben Yahweh was also making known to his people that Yahweh promised Abraham, if his seed would diligently hearken unto his voice and keep all his commandments, then we will inherit this land wherein we are strangers and be set on high above all nations. In order to prevent Yahweh ben Yahweh from causing us to become conscious of this covenant, the government and the rulers knew he had to be taken away. Once Yahweh ben Yahweh was tucked away, bearing his 18-year prison sentence, the chief priests, the rulers, and the media again consulted together to conspire how they would intensify their efforts to lay hold upon his people, the so-called black man of America, symbolically called Simon. Their stratagem was to compel Simon to also carry the cross, prison. To imprison Simon They have made up evidence and contrived events so as to incriminate him falsely. As a result of their made-up evidence and contrived events, we, the so-called black man of America, have been deprived of prestigious positions, reduced politically and financially, and our professional careers have been ruined. The government, in order to step up their efforts, initiated their covert operation called the Contra Connection. This secret plan was designed to place crack cocaine in every city in Simon's communities across America. The result of placing drugs in our communities has changed our normal behavior, as well as caused violence and bloodshed to erupt in our neighborhoods, thus turning our once peaceful communities into communities of gang violence, drive-by shootings, rapes, muggings, robberies, and murders. The chief priests, the rulers, and the elders desired to keep Simon in prison, that they might seize upon his inheritance, the promised land. Yahweh ben Yahweh has been continually warning Simon that Satan desires to have him in prison, that he may sift him as wheat. Wheat is grown for two purposes: food for survival and economic gain. Sifting wheat and storing it in silos parallel how Satan is sifting and storing Simon, the so-called black man of America, in prisons. Just as the farmer stores the good wheat in silos, Satan, in the same manner, is storing our good, strong, young black men in prisons so that they may be used as a captive labor force for his economic gain. All these things are being done that we might bear the burden of prison in the same manner that, according to the way that, and at the same time as Yahweh ben Yahweh, as prophesied in Luke chapter 23, verse 26, and Luke chapter 22, verse 31. All that was written in the New Testament about the Messiah, from Matthew through Revelation, did not happen 2,000 years ago. We have shown you in this series that Yahweh ben Yahweh, the Messiah, has been rejected, hated, mocked, scourged, forced to bear his own cross, and nailed to the cross. We have also shown you in this series that he was arrested, tried, judicially murdered, sentenced, and put in prison for crimes he did not commit. The prophecy of the crucifixion of the Messiah, Yahweh ben Yahweh, is being fulfilled this day in your and my lifetime. This video presentation shows that this is Yahweh ben Yahweh, who is the faithful witness and the first begotten of the dead, the one prophet whom Yahweh has raised up like unto Moses, who shall return or restore us, the children of Israel, to the Garden of Eden, the promised land. If you would like the details of how to order this entire video series or the book, The Crucifixion of the Messiah, call 1-800-967-7337. Thank you for listening, and join us next week as we continue our course of singling out the family of Adam from the perspective of the word watch and its relationship to keep.
The United States government has declared war against Yahweh ben Yahweh and the nation of Yahweh in its Project Megiddo report, released by the FBI in October 1999. Do you know that this is fulfillment of prophecy? It was prophesied in Revelation 12:7 that there was war in heaven. Michael, the Messiah, and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. In the government's report, the nation of Yahweh is labeled as extreme terrorists, accused of believing that white people are incarnate manifestations of evil. We are even accused of preparing for a race war and are practicing paramilitary operations, none of which are true. This is a divinely declared word war, whose end result was already declared from the beginning. Since war has been declared, read the Nation of Yahweh's battle plan called Operation Word War on the internet at www.yahwehbenyahweh.com.
Thank you for joining us in the universe of Yahweh. And now we'd like to invite all of you to pray with us as we turn to the east with outstretched hands and say a prayer to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. Come, let us pray. Tefillah, Avenu Shabashamayim, Yikar Shemeaka, Tavo Malkuteaka, Yase Razonka, Kivashamayim Kain Baaretz, Et Lekum Kukenu, Tain Lanu Hayom, Uslak Lanu, Arkati Enu, Ki Moshe Sol Kim, Gamanaknu, Lakoteom Lanu, Veal Tefienu, Lode Nisayom, Kim Kal Senu, Min Hara, Kilaka, Hamamlaha, Veha Givera, Veha Tiferet, Leolame, Olamin Sila. We thank thee, O Yahweh, O living and eternal King, who has so mercifully restored our souls within us. Selah. Praise Yahweh, and always remember that the Father Yahweh and his Son Yahweh ben Yahweh love you, and your host loves you too. Shalom Aleichem.
To order the companion book to the series, The Messiah Revealed, call 1-800-967-PEACE. That's 1-800-967-7337. And when you call, ask about the special discount on the Kingdom of Yahweh Heaven. Videos of this program are available. When ordering, please refer to the program number on the screen.
You can now access the divine mind of Yahweh ben Yahweh on the internet at the address on the screen.